let's talk about like the things that were important to us, like over the last 4 years that we've kind of talked about that this would be like important if we were to get engaged and get married.
Right.
So one of the things was the sex, like our sex life.
The sex.
The sex.
The big SEX.
Correct. And I think it's so important, like for couples. How many times do we have sex a week? A day?
A day. Well, there are times. Those are good days. Those are good days.
But I think by the time you get to be married, I think, not everyone, some people are religious and they have to wait for religious reasons, but we chose not to wait.
Right.
And so I think for me, it was important that I understand your body and that you understand mine.
Right. And there's also an ease and flow of being able to talk about it, and kind of also even in the world of consent, where we're really shining a light on that consent is so important. One of the things that I think is so important about that is that it actually brings conversation around sex. So it's also not weird to talk about it when we're not having it, or to really kind of, and when I say not having it, like not in the moment, but even in the moment to be like, what works for you? Do you like this? Do you not like that? This is what I like, to have this sort of free, open flow, because, sex sometimes can be hard to talk about.
It can be hard to talk about, and there can be trauma around sex.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for both couples to open up about the trauma and the challenges that they have around sex.
Yep.
So
or hang-ups. I mean, trauma is a big word, which a lot of people do, but even like on a smaller scale, like little hang-ups, or the social, maybe it's like a voice in your head of sort of social expectations and things like that, right?
Yeah. And I think for us, that's been important. And for the last, 4 years, for almost 4 years now,
Pushing 4.
we've been having sex, and we know each other's bodies so well at this point.
Yeah.
I think we're ready for marriage. And we're ready for sex life to end. But I do have to say that sex does get better with time.
I think so. And I think a lot of it actually has to do with the communication. That's one thing I wanted to say, is that sex can be a hard thing to talk about. Like, if sometimes in the moment, do I want to actually have almost like a intellectual conversation about what I like, or if something is a little bit weird sometimes, or whatever that might be, is that any of the challenges around conversation around sex will pale in comparison to challenges that couples will have once they're married and they're deep in and they're committed. And we're saying, we're doing this for life. And I think that kind of like leads into some of these other things that we'll talk about are important, is that the conversation, the ability to have an easy flow with that is going to be really, really useful down the road when good communication skills become paramount to successfully continuing a marriage.